Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Open World. Today we will be interviewing Yuhei Nasu from Bonus Stage. But before we go to the interview, let's check out the LocFact of today.
Hi guys, welcome to a new Open World LocFact.
Hi everyone.
This time we're going to be talking about one of the most famous franchises of all time, Pokemon.
More specifically, we'll be discussing how Pokemon are named in different languages.
Exactly. Did you know that not every country knows these cute and incredible little creatures by the same names? So where do their names come from and what can they tell us about each creature?
Well, there are a few exceptions though, such as Pikachu, which is the most iconic Pokemon as everyone knows, whose name has never been transcreated even though it might sound weird in some languages.
I've been so lonely.
Right. So let's get into it. Our first case is the legendary bird trio, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Their English names clearly show a combination of Spanish numbers, well, to those of us who know Spanish numbers, uno, one, dos, two, and tres, three. But since the game is originally in Japanese, what are their original names?
Well, their Japanese names are Freezer, as you can see in the screen, Thunder, and Fire. Quite straightforward names, right? And in German, these powerful bird Pokemon are called Arctos, and in German, Arctis is Arctic, Zapdos, and Lavados. In German, as I said, Arctis means Arctic, and Lavados comes from lava, of course. Other than that, the names have remained quite similar to English and have been adapted to rhyme to tos, dos, dos.
Right. Lickitung is another Pokemon that has a peculiar name in German. It's Schlurp. And this is the German automatopoeia of a lick, which makes the creature's name a clear definition of what it actually does. Another case of onomatopoeia in Pokemon names is Golduck's French equivalent, a quack quack. This is a really adorable name since it's more or less how a child would pronounce a duck's quack. So cute.
Oh, yeah, it is so cute. But these names are really creative and easy for children to remember. So I wonder if that's the main reason behind their etymology. But enough with old school generation. What about Gen 8 Pokemon? Corviknight is as awesome as it is scary. Here on the screen, you can see how Corviknight is called in Japanese, which is pronounced as, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, amaga, and literally means armor.
Right. In English, Corvi comes from Corvus, a big variety of crow, and knight, which makes complete sense since this fearful crow Pokemon possesses steel body, feathers, and a steel peck, which make up its armor. In German, it's called Krarma. The KR stands for Crowe. Es tut mir leid. I'm not a German speaker. Please, please, please correct us on this. Somebody comment and tell us how to pronounce these correctly next time. A small sized body crow variety, and well, the armor part of it is obvious.
As many of you may know, there are more than 800 Pokemon now.
Wow.
We could go on for days with these names. But I think you got the idea. There's a lot of transcreation going on behind these adorable creatures.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today. Add a comment about what other Pokemon names are unique in your languages so we can keep up the conversation about this iconic franchise. And see you next time on another Open World LocFact. Bye.
See you next time.
Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Open World. Today, here with us, we have Yuhei Nasu. Hi, Yuhei. How are you?
Hey,
Welcome.
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. So we wanted to introduce you to this amazing guest that we have today here with us. Yuhei is a veteran of the game localization industry with 12 years of experience under his belt, most recently as a localization producer for EA. Born in Japan and raised in England, Germany, and the US, Yuhei returned to Japan in 2006 to pursue a career in localization. Yuhei has had a healthy obsession with video games since he received his first Game Boy at the age of 5. And when he's not gaming, Yuhei spends his time on music and skateboarding. So, hi, Yuhei. Welcome. How are you today?
Hello, I'm very good, and thank you for the introduction.
Oh, please. We're super excited to have you. And, well, first of all, I wanted to start I wanted to learn, how does a localization producer day look like? I mean, what is it?
Right.
What does it take to be a localization producer? And if there were any tools or specific skills that you had to learn to master this role?
Right, very good question. The a day of a localization producer really depends on which part of the localization process or the game development process the project is in at that moment, because a localization producer is involved in almost every step of the dev cycle. So, for example, early on in the game development cycle, the developer might come to us for consultation regarding some of the game content. So, for example, if there's some kind of artwork that they want to check would be culturally suitable for Japan, they would check with us, or even, it might be a question regarding the Japanese ratings board, if any content is suitable for, the rating that they want, they would come to us. We're also involved in the translation and review process quite heavily, and we also supervise audio recording sessions. So it can be quite a busy day, taking into account that we're not always necessarily working on one project at a time. At times it can be hectic, but it's always a fun day, which is most important to me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. In terms of the skill sets necessary for a localization producer, I would say that communication skills is quite crucial, whether it be verbal or through text, because most of our work involves communicating with multiple teams, whether it be the devs, the testing team, the audio recording studio, the ratings board. We communicate with a lot of teams, so it's crucial that we, when we do communicate, we communicate the necessary information in one go. This is especially the case if you're working with someone in a different time zone, because one bad email could be night and day, quite literally, because you could lose one entire day with a
Oh, yeah. Just in a question of minutes, you lose an entire day.
Yeah, exactly. Especially, if, for example, the time difference is 12 hours, you barely have any overlap. So maybe you send an email at the end of your day, the reply comes in your morning. If the email was perfect, that's fine, right? Because you gave the necessary info and you would receive the required feedback. But if that email is bad, you have to wait an additional 12 hours to follow up on that email. So I think, communication skills is key. It's one of the big things that I learned in my 13 years as a localization producer.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that insight. And I wanted to follow up on the rating system, because I'm familiar with it, but I'm pretty sure that many of the people that are going to be watching this are not familiar with the rating system that you have in place in Japan. So would you mind explaining that in more detail?
Sure. So the Japanese rating system is a organization called CERO. It's spelled CERO. Whenever you release a game on console in Japan, this CERO rating is required. So the challenge, I think, for indie devs, or actually any AAA maybe devs that want to release their games in Japan, I think the challenge is that CERO only operates in Japanese. So it can be a big challenge to really communicate with them in the first place. So I think that's a big hurdle that, the devs have to overcome when they want to get a rating in Japan. What else? Compared to ratings boards like ESRB, maybe, the Japanese ratings board is known to be a little more strict. A little more might be an understatement. It's it's quite a bit more strict than what you would see in the West. Without going into too much detail, the Japanese board in Japan, we tend to be more strict in regards to gore. Games like The Last of Us, it can be quite gory.
For sure.
In some cases, a lot of softening. Softening is when you take out certain content that wouldn't be accepted by the Japanese rating board. This softening is required for a lot of games that release in Japan.
Yeah, and I was wondering, how do the players react to that in Japan? Are they used to, or because I know that there, as you mentioned, that there's a board that actually evaluates and assesses the content of each game, but how do players react to that softening?
So I think a handful of players understand that something was done to their game, as in, like, some content was taken out because it had to comply with the ratings board. So obviously, for a game like maybe Doom or something like that, the violence is, a pretty big part of that game. So once you tone that down, I understand that some users aren't happy with, that they would rather buy the Western version.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought up Doom, because it's basically the essence of it,
Yeah, it's the essence. Exactly. And in some cases, for example, Mortal Kombat, that's a game that cannot be released in Japan because if you soften that game, you don't have a game.
Exactly.
You have players doing friendships all the time.
Yeah, no more fatality for you.
No more fatality. Yeah, so it's a shame because there's a lot of games that I personally love, Dead Space being one of them. And
that's a franchise that needs to get to come back.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to see a Dead Space sequel. But it's a shame that we don't see these games released in Japan, just because of the gore, which is quite unusual, seeing that a lot of anime in Japan is very gory.
Yeah, exactly.
Like compared to cartoons or like even movies, they're very gory and graphic. So it's I can't say I understand the decisions fully, but yeah, it's there and we have to follow it. So
do you ever see this changing, or those rules to be less strict in the near future?
In the near future, I can't say I do, unfortunately. Cero has been around for a long time, and you know, yeah, and I've worked with them a lot too, and I understand, some of the decisions they make, because yes, some content should not be played by younger audiences.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I completely agree with them on
Yeah,
some,
there's a thin line of looking after the players and the young audience and actually censoring or maybe losing the whole essence of a game. But yeah,
exactly.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank you so much for your insight on that. I know that
no problem.
I took over because I was so interested in what you were saying. But go ahead, guys. Yeah, it is.
No, but we didn't prepare any questions about that. But yeah, I'm glad that you took that away.
Oh yeah, no, surprise me.
Yes. Well, here's another surprise for you. No, I want to know. Well, you worked for EA, right? But now you have your own company. You have your own baby. So can you please tell me what it's like to run your own LSP? How was that change for you, right? If you're still do like an octopus managing many different things. And how was that process? I mean, was it something that you just jumped for it, or did you had it in your mind for a while? Can you please elaborate a little bit on that?
Of course. So I was in EA Japan for 12 years, and then unfortunately in 2019, EA Japan closed its doors. Yeah, so it was, I started Bonus Stage basically the day after EA Japan closed down. So
you didn't lose time.
No, I didn't want to lose time. I just wanted to go for it straight away. So I pretty much dove into it head first, into the deep end. And of course, there's a lot of challenges with running a company. So it's very different from my experience at EAJ. But at the same time, the 12 years of experience I had at EA really helped me start a localization company, because, I've gone through the entire localization process while I was at EA. So,
right.
As well as running the company, because we're such a small team, I still am a localization producer as well.
Right.
So sometimes juggling that can be a challenge, for sure, because, back when I was, didn't have my company, I didn't really have to worry about taxes or, the boring side of running a company. But that is a big part of what you have to do when you run a company. You have to, worry about taxes and bookkeeping and accounting and everything like that. So and it's like juggling a few things. But
yeah, and at the same time taking care of your team, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not just you anymore.
No, that's a huge difference for sure.
But now you started your own company the day after you left EA. That EA closed down, right? You didn't left. EA left you.
Right.
So
that's
how did you got into EA like 30 something years ago? How's the backstory of it?
Right. That is a very interesting story, actually.
Real about interesting stories.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I was always into games. Like you mentioned in my profile, I got my first Game Boy when I was 5.
Your healthy obsession. Right?
my healthy obsession with games. So I loved games all my life, basically, but I never really considered making it my career. So I like music almost as equally as I like games. So I used to work at a music venue as a just at the bar, making serving beer to the customers and things like that. And this is when my mom contacted me and saying she found an ad.
Go, Mom.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you, Mom, if you're watching.
Aw.
And the ad was hi, Mom. And the ad was for a position at EA, and it required some linguistic skills. And since I was bilingual, she thought, it would be a good fit for me. So yeah, that's when I just thought I should go for this, because working at a music venue, you really don't make much money.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So unfortunately, so I took the opportunity. I wanted to test my linguistic skills as well. So yeah, I joined EA as a translator in the beginning. And then a position for assistant localization producer opened, so I applied, and that's basically then the dominoes start falling in, and here I am now.
That's amazing.
How old were you when your mom showed you this ad?
I think I was 21.
You were a baby.
You were a baby. Yeah. It's a very long time ago. I think I was 21. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That's
awesome.
the coolest story ever. How did you start working at EA? Thanks to my mom. It's amazing.
Yeah, she saw video games, like bilingual skills, and she was like, "Yeah, this is for you.
This is for my kid."
Yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't think of that earlier, I had to rely on my mom to come up with that for me.
But you're not alone, man. I mean, plenty of us didn't think about pursuing a career in the localization industry or in the video game industry up until we were much older than 21. Well, not much.
Yeah, but it's amazing that your mom saw that there was potential in the video game industry. It wasn't just a hobby or like a healthy obsession, right?
Yeah. I think she saw me playing Nintendo 64 for like 6-8 hours a day, and she must have thought, this is the job for you.
This needs to pay off, like somehow.
Did she ever play any games with you, or did she when you were younger?
Oh, she actually did. She used to play Animal Crossing on the Nintendo 64.
Love it.
So that's an old game.
Lore is a huge Animal Crossing fan.
Yeah, I spent a lot of the early stages of lockdown playing that one.
Oh, the Switch version?
Yeah, when it just came out on the Switch.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can't buy a Switch anymore, in Japan at least.
Oh, really?
We got ours.
Yeah, it's sold out. Yeah.
Well, we thank you for that story. We loved it. I mean, what's the name of your mom, by the way? Because she's amazing.
My mom's name is Taiko.
Taiko.
We love
Taiko. Thank you for
Taiko for what you did
bringing Yuhei to the industry.
That's an unexpected cameo.
Yeah. But a cute one, though.
We'll be interviewing her next week.
Oh, great. She'll love that.
Well, I wanted to take it back a little bit to the culture discussion that we were having earlier, because I have heard from a few different people in the localization industry that it's often easier to localize games from Japanese into English rather than from English into Japanese, since the English-speaking world just kind of eats up the entire Japanese aesthetic and culture. So what do you think it is about Japanese gaming or Japanese entertainment in general that appeals so strongly to English-speaking audiences?
I think the major difference is the exposure the Western audience has to Japanese material when they were young. I lived in the UK when I was very small. I went to the UK when I was 4, and I stayed there 7 years. So I experienced this firsthand as well. But in Europe, there aren't many domestic animations. So a lot of what comes into Europe is exports from the US or Japan. For example, Power Rangers was huge when I was a kid, and that is a Japanese export.
Same.
Same. And Dragon Ball, of course, and animes like that. Oh, you wore a T-shirt. Okay.
We're big
That's
fans
awesome.
of Dragon Ball as well. We grew up with Dragon Ball.
Yes, I
Yeah. And I heard from my friends in Italy and France. They told me that Dragon Ball was on TV. On Saturday mornings. So I think compared to Japanese people, I think the Western audience had a lot of opportunities to be exposed to this new culture, which is Japanese culture, when they were small. So now they're grown up, and if a game contains very Japanese things, like for example Persona 5,
Persona. What a
very Japanese game. That's a very Japanese game and they're not even they don't try to domesticate the content. They don't hide the fact that everyone is Japanese and they go to this Japanese school and they live in Shibuya. Shibuya, yeah. So I think the Western audience, they can take that in more than a Japanese person can with Western content, because they've been exposed to these kinds of Japanese culture since they were young. Now, on the flip side, not a lot of cartoons make it over to Japan. So almost everything is foreign to a Japanese audience, mostly because there's so much domestic content, games, anime, movies. So they didn't really grow up watching anything outside Japanese things. So I think that's the major difference.
It's interesting. I guess it makes a lot of sense when you put it like that. I mean, you're naming shows and things. I'm like, oh yeah, that was from my childhood. Oh yeah, I remember that. So yeah, I guess it really was, having that Japanese entertainment was a big part of our childhoods here in the US. And we do still love it as adults.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
So thank you. And thank you to Japan for all the awesome games and shows.
Yes.
Yes, because it might be like, oh yeah, this was whatever I did, whatever I watched while I was a kid, but it was the same thing that we watched as kids as well. So your export quality is top notch, Yuhei. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I'm not sure if I can take credit for all of that, but
take it. Yuhei is personally responsible for all the good games and shows coming out of Japan. You heard it here first.
Well, he has been for like quite a while right now for all of his work at EA and now at his own company. So yeah, man, take it.
Yeah, I'll take what I can. Thank you very much. I'm responsible for everything.
Well done.
But yeah, we wanted to know, what do you think are the main challenges? Because we already talked about going from Japanese into English. So what are the main challenges for indie devs to go from English into Japanese and to localize their game? Are there any specific adaptations? I mean, you talked about the rating system and all, but from your experience, have you seen any specific mistakes or common mistakes throughout the years that people make on their when they develop their games, not thinking about, of course, the target audience.
Right. So yeah, the common challenge is dialect. Obviously English has so many dialects, and each of them are specific to that region, and that specific dialect has its own specific slang. So it's really difficult for a translator to be able to understand all these different English dialects and slang terminology.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for example, if a character has a very heavy Cockney accent, let's say the character's from London or something, a lot of the things that he's saying, the translator will miss because they haven't grown up around this kind of English. A lot of times, people who study to become translators, they read the English from books, they hear the English from tapes.
Right.
Obviously, no one is going to start swearing in a textbook or on a tape, but a game isn't a textbook. The characters speak like normal people, and normal people, they swear and they don't use clean English. So one challenge I faced is just searching for translators that can understand this kind of language. I like to think that we have a strength there because everyone on the team, very diverse backgrounds. I grew up in London and moved to Germany, then Illinois. So if you're wondering,
very diverse.
That's quite a shift.
Yeah. So you might be thinking my accent is hard to put a finger on it. That's because it's American Midwestern British, I would say.
Midwest.
Midwest. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm in Wisconsin right now. Wisconsin.
Oh, nice.
That just came out by accident. Sorry.
Finding a translator that can do that is very challenging. So having a team that is diverse, my team has people from the States, England, Ireland, New Zealand. So in terms of slang and dialects, we have quite a few of the bases covered, I would say.
Amazing.
And on the topic of dialect, it's always challenging to translate a dialect when the devs want the dialect to be portrayed in Japanese. Let's say a character speaks in a Scottish accent, and the devs want us to portray that in Japanese. There is no Scottish Japanese accent. So what do we do? Does it simply mean, Scotland is the northern region of England, not England, the UK, the northern region of the UK. So do we just pick a dialect that is the northern region of Japan? And of course, it's not that simple.
Not at all.
No. So, in our case, what we do is we try and figure out why the devs chose this particular dialect for this character. The Scottish accent, it's usually seen as a little rough. Obviously it's an archetype. It's not true. Not every Scottish person is rough, but when you think about why the devs chose it, you can kind of see the characteristic they were trying to go for. So we try and focus on that characteristic as opposed to the actual dialect, because translating the dialect directly is impossible. So
Right.
Just focus on the character and make that come through in the translation, and then I think we can translate it the way the devs wanted.
And that takes us back to communication. Communication is key to fully understand the backstory of each character and then try to portray it as the best you can in the for the target audience to get the same feel,
Right. So it's always a discussion with the devs because in the end, we need to, deliver what's best for the players. Yes, but we also need to deliver the message that the devs were going for.
Exactly.
So it's, we always ask questions to the devs and they always give us really good answers and information. So, based on that information, we try to translate and localize the content the best we can.
Well, that was a nicely diplomatic answer at the end there. I like that. We always get good answers, Zach.
Always, 100% of the time.
Love it.
Yuhei,
thank you.
You might have given a bit of something away for what I mean to ask next, but as you know, many indie devs usually want to get their games known worldwide, right? But they just don't know where to start when it comes to localization, right? So, what sort of advice could you give indie devs when it comes to localization?
The main advice I would give to indie developers is negotiation. Indie devs, compared to AAA or AA companies, they have a limit on the budget more often than not. So I think that's some indie devs might stop there. They might just say, we don't have money to localize it, so we can't. But that's a shame because you could be missing out on a very big market and a very big player base. So I would have to say, just negotiate with the localization team you want to work with. Let's say you don't have a budget, then maybe you have something else to offer. Let's say, for example, we localize your game, so maybe you can put our logo on the splash screen or something like that. There could be a win-win scenario without involving money. So I would say just ask for a quote and see if it fits your budget. And if it doesn't, just negotiate, because there's really, you won't lose anything from negotiating. So that would be one advice.
Communication again. Talk.
Communication, yes.
Time and time again.
Yeah, sorry, I'll stop talking about communication now.
No, please,
no, that would be against our rule of communication.
But you're shedding so much light into something that it sounds like it should be just common change, right? But it doesn't. That it's not that common. I mean,
otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation, because sometimes indie devs, for example, are super. Maybe there's just a one team person, or maybe two or three if they're lucky, and they don't even know where to start. And sometimes it's good to share these stories for them to know that there are other ways. And
don't just
definitely
out.
I would say, I if you Google localization, a lot of companies come up. And as an indie dev, you might be intimidated by that because, obviously the ones that come up on the top, they've handled all these AAA games. Maybe they work with NASA or something like that. So it's easy to get intimidated by that. And of course, if you ask for a quote, it might be on the high end. But I think it's important to search outside of the big names as well, because there are a lot of small indie studios that would be willing to negotiate a little more than the more bigger companies would. So a good starting point, I think, would be to join an indie community. There's a very good one in Japan called Asobu. They have a huge presence on Discord as well, and it's just a group of indie devs coming together, talking about their own games, asking for help. So just join a group and then make connections, and then you'd be surprised like how many people, how many localization studios there might be.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you.
That's a great advice, Yuhei. Thanks.
Thank you.
It really is such a nice community too. So, like you said, reaching out, I think, is a really good idea.
It is. Yeah.
So, in addition to gaming, we know you also dabble in music and skateboarding. Is it snowboarding as well, or just skateboarding?
Oh, it's just skateboarding. Yeah.
In skateboarding, which are, I mean, both just very classic cool guy attributes that I'm totally digging. And we know that you've assembled a team at Bonus Stage that have backgrounds in music and other arts as well, in addition to their gaming backgrounds. So as somebody with negative musical talent myself, I'm wondering, admittedly, does the music in games tend to work regardless of the international audience, or is that something that you find really benefits from the localization treatment, specializing it for a certain linguistic group in every game?
Let me first clarify that I got into music and skateboarding for the pure reason of looking cool.
Yeah, makes sense.
Don't we all?
So sorry, your question was music and video games?
Yeah, so the music in games, when you're localizing these games, music is often such a big part of the games that we play. And so is that something that generally translates well when you're localizing a game to an international audience?
Yeah, I mean, Japan tends to follow the trend of the US in terms of musical, what's big right now. So, for example, I'm gonna sound out of touch with guys. Obviously, dubstep was very big a few years ago. Maybe not a few years ago, maybe quite a while ago. And then, a few months later, it's big in Japan as well. So, back when dubstep was big, a lot of video games were incorporating dubstep into their soundtrack. So the Japanese audience, they didn't really have any trouble getting into that either, because we tend to like a similar genre to what everyone in the US likes.
Well,
It's nice then. It kind of, you don't have to completely come up with a new soundtrack every time you're localizing a game.
Yeah, that would be a whole new additional step to the localization process if we had to rewrite the music. It might be fun though.
Maybe just for some games, maybe not every game.
Yeah, not every game, please.
Please, it's too much work.
I won't make you do it.
Yeah, and now that you said fun, we're gonna go to the fun part of our interview. Even though I had a great time during this session,
me too.
we ask you to share with us a set of memes. What were your favorite memes? So I'm gonna share my screen now. Yes. So, well, thank you so much, Yuhei, for sharing your memes. So this is the first one.
I love memes. Let's go.
Nope.
Nope.
No, I didn't get anything.
The guy was loaded.
This is a true
Every
story.
single-
Yeah, my friends do this to me all the time.
Oh, really?
My friends do this to me all the time.
Yeah, with friends like that, you don't need enemies. Right?
Exactly.
I know, right? And what are you playing with your friends right now?
I'm playing Apex Legends, like
Cool.
everyone else in Japan. Even if I wanted to play anything else, my friends are playing Apex, so I don't really
You
have
have
much
to.
of a choice. Yeah,
It's
but
Apex
yeah,
or Apex.
anytime Apex or Apex. Yeah. I mean, anytime I play Apex. By the way, I'm terrible at Apex to
Oh,
I
begin with.
suck at
But
Apex.
it's such a difficult game. But every time I go into a game, I end up running around with 2 scopes and no gun, while my friends are just decked out in the best gear. So
So
I
everyone
have to
can
remind them. Yeah.
tell whenever you got something from the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to keep reminding them that this is a team game.
Yes.
You know, so maybe help me.
By the way, what character do you pick usually?
Bangalore, because I don't have anyone else locked. The new legends, I don't have them unlocked. So I usually stick to Bangalore because she's, one of the closer characters to, like, a common FPS. Where the abilities are, relatively simple compared to the other legends. So I tend to stick with her because she's the only one I can use.
Narrows
Makes
down the
sense.
options well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the next one.
Oh, I love this one.
Localizing.
I love this game. Donuts
Yeah, I
are
know.
great.
Built on my favorite.
Like,
I did always want
mean,
to eat the food watching the show, though. Like, for some reason, the food always looked so good.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
every
the
single time.
Japanese sweets, maybe
Uh-huh.
they look good, don't they? Yeah.
Well,
So,
it happened to me a lot with Dragon Ball as well. Every single time that they're eating, it's like, I'm hungry.
Oh,
I need
Dragon
to
Ball,
be
Yeah.
having those huge feasts.
The huge, like the dinosaur tails.
The
even
dinosaur
those look good.
tail. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And that brings us to the
and
next
there we
one.
are.
Oh, I love it.
Yep.
I had to ask Alex to sneak this one in because it's not related to games and it's not related to localization, but I like Dragon Ball, so
I believe
I
that
had-
Goku has a free pass.
Oh,
Where-
Goku has
Yeah.
a crying right now.
Always. And I had to sneak one for the sake of it because when I saw that you're a big fan of Dragon Ball, I had to include this one as well.
I wasn't expecting this one.
Oh no.
I know, the surprise factor.
Poor Yamcha.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's a pronunciation in Japanese, like the proper one?
Well, the proper one would be Yamucha.
Yeah.
Yamcha.
What is it in your region?
No, Yamcha. But
Yamcha.
I thought I heard something. I thought I heard Yamka.
No, that might be somewhere different. It's Yamucha in Japan, and Yamucha actually means a Chinese dish or a Chinese buffet. Dragon Ball names are all based on food or clothing items.
Yes. Gohan.
That's why I love them
something
so
like
much.
that.
We're gonna have
Gohan.
to have a separate talk about this because I was not aware, and I would like to get educated on this.
Oh, I would love to talk about Dragon Ball for another 3 hours or something. But,
Yeah.
All right,
Gohan
next week,
literally next week. Let's do that. Gohan.
after we
is,
interview with your mom.
Oh yeah, I forgot my mom. Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do
after
that.
her session, we'll have our Dragon Ball session.
Okay.
But I want to know what Gohan, if I got Gohan right.
Gohan is right, and that literally means food. Well, not food, but dinner.
Oh,
Uh,
I love it.
Well,
I love it.
yeah.
When I thought I couldn't love Dragon Ball anymore, like you come and share this information, and it's like, of course, they are related.
Yeah,
their names are related to food.
The names are fascinating. Yes.
Mhm. Well, that's the end.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
and
great.
Mr.
Oh.
Business came to say hi.
Guest appearance at the end.
Hello.
He's trying to put his paw in my coffee, so now he gets to sit on my lap in timeout.
Time out. Okay.
Perfect timing.
Time out.
Oh, look at his face. He's all grumpy. Like, I need my coffee.
I want coffee.
This poor abused cat. I'm so sorry you have to see this here at the end of the session.
Well, Yuhei, it was lovely to have you with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
well, we hope to continue discussing or Goku or any other characters or Gohan or even the names of. I would love to learn more about that. And as you said, I could be talking for hours about Dragon Ball. So hopefully we can meet again and meet in person maybe next year.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
I'll bring my mom.
Yes, I mean,
already.
yeah, we already love her and say hi and thank her for bringing you to the localization industry.
Oh, yes.
And
I will.
well, we hope you have a lovely weekend because we're recording this on a Friday. So thank you for staying up this late for us.
Oh, no
And
problem. No problem. Thank you so
it was
much.
amazing to have you. So stay safe and thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for
Thank
the
you,
next
guys.
episode.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next
Bye.
time.